Ready? Go!
After the expression above is simplified, what is the coefficient of x expressed as a decimal? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is distribute that 3 over 5 to the 2x and to the 5. Let's get this. And then those 5's actually cancel out. And then I'm going to turn that 2x into a 10x over 5. Now I'm going to group my like terms next to each other. And we just need the x coefficient. So we get negative 4x over 5. If I make that into negative 8x over 10, equivalent, easy to turn to a decimal. There we go. Boom. Two number cubes have sides labeled 1 through 6. Both number cubes are rolled. How many different outcomes will have a sum of 6? Okay, so we have two dice 1 and dice 2, and 1 and 5, 2 and 4, 3 and 3, and then keep the reverse, 4 and 2, 5 and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. The figure above shows a scale drawing of a garden where 1 centimeter represents 2.5 meters. What is the perimeter of the actual garden in meters? We need to add up the sides. The left side is 6. The opposite side will also be 6, which is 3 and 3. And then we have the top side, its opposite side, which will be the same as well, which is another 13. Okay, and then we get our number that we have to multiply by 2.5 to get it into meters. Multiplication. And we're done, 95. At one location, the temperature increased from negative 7 degrees Fahrenheit to 4 degrees Fahrenheit between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. By 11 a.m., the temperature was 3.5 times greater than the 9 a.m. temperature. What was the total increase in temperature between 5 a.m. and 11 a.m. in degrees Fahrenheit? Okay, so I'm going to make a timeline or like a number line, 5 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m. Fill in the temperatures that we know. And we know it's going to be 3.5 times greater than that temperature, so that's 14 degrees. And then we just need to make sure that we're good with our subtraction of a negative here, and 21. That's it. The figure below is a triangular prism. The lateral sides are rectangles. What is the volume of the figure in cubic inches? For a three-dimensional shape, we really would like to find out the area of the base. So the triangle is what I'm going to call the base, and 1/2 base times height. We find the area of that triangle, and it's 16 inches squared. So we multiply the base of our three-dimensional figure by the height, and notice how the units even work out. So now it's 32 inches cubed. That's our answer. This graph shows y, the weight of a pole of length x. What is represented by the point with coordinates 1, 4? The unit rate is 4 ounces per foot. That looks right. The y-intercept is 4. Incorrect, it's 0. A pole 4 feet long weighs 1 ounce. That's flipped. The length increased 4 feet for each 1 ounce of weight. That is also flipped. So the answer is A. The number line shows points E, F, G, and H. Which point represents the sum of 2.5 plus negative 4.5? If you remember that the value is going to get closer to 0, it's just subtraction. So we're going to get negative 2.0. That's it. If 9 over 2x equals 3y over 8, where x is not 0 and y is not 0, what is the product of x and y? Okay, so cross multiplying it, you get 72 equals 6xy. And so I'm going to divide each side by 6 to isolate the xy. It's 12, which is the product of xy, 12. A car dealership is having a sale where all cars have a 12% discount. What is the discounted price of a car that originally cost $15,600? If it's 12% off, that's a 12% discount off 100%. So that means that we're paying for 88% of the car. So the original price of the car times what we're paying 88%, 0.88, so multiplication. And that's our answer. Boom, 13728. 4 2/3 divided by 2 1/2. So I'm going to put the fractions in a format that I kind of prefer to work in. 14 over 3 divided by 5 over 2. And so we just flip this second fraction and multiply it through. And that's 28 over 15. I know 15 goes into 28 at least once. 13 is left over. 1 and 13/15. In a sports league, each team has 36 players and 3 coaches. There are also a number of team assistants. The ratio of team assistants to players is 1 over 6. What is the ratio of coaches to assistants? Okay, so assistants players, coaches. We have 36 players, we have 3 coaches, and we know the ratio is 1/6. So 1/6 of 36 is 6. Coaches over assistants, 3/6, 1/2. That's it. Lena is building a fence. She will need to dig holes to help support the posts that hold up the fence. The holes need to have a depth of 3 1/3 feet below the ground. Each post is 10 feet long. What is the height of the part of the post that is above the ground? We just need to do the subtraction for this one. So I'm going to turn the 10 to a 30/3 and the 3 1/3 to a 10/3. Do the subtraction, clean it up a little bit. 6 2/3 is showing. In the equation above, if r equals 2, what is the value of p? I'm going to rewrite the equation, but I'm going to substitute 2 every time I see an r. And now I just need to be careful about order of operations here, doing my distribution of the 2. Subtract p from each side, subtract 3 from each side. 1 equals p. Karen reads at the rate of 60 pages per day. Martina reads 25% more pages per day than Karen. If the 2 students begin 1,500-page reading assignments on the same day, how many days sooner will Martina complete the assignment than Karen? So we have Karen, 60 pages a day. Martina is 25% more, so 125% of, and that is 75 pages a day. Okay. So if you're doing 60 pages a day, or if you're doing 75 pages a day, eventually they have to multiply to equal 1,500. And that's 2, 25, clean, 2, and that's clean. So 25 days compared to 20 days, that's 5 days sooner. Claire is running on a circular track. She has already run 650 meters. Each lap around the track is a distance of 120 meters. Her goal is to run at least 2,500 meters in all. How many more laps does she need to complete in order to reach her goal? She wants to go 2,500, and she's already ran 650, so what's left to go is 1,850, and every lap is 120, so how many of those does she need? 15... and that as a remainder. So she needs 16 full laps to make sure she covers the distance, h. A company with 200 employees grew in size by 25% between 2005 and 2010. The company grew again by 10% between 2010 and 2015. What was the total number of employees in 2015? First, we have to show the 25% increase, so 125% of the 200 employees is 250. Then the 10% increase, which is 110%. Doing the multiplication, that is 275. A bowl contains 12 green candies, 4 yellow candies, and some red candies. The probability of choosing a green candy at random is twice as great as the probability of choosing a red candy at random. What is the probability of choosing a yellow candy at random? Putting our information in front of us, we know that we have 12 green, 4 yellow, and some red. The probability of green over total is twice the probability of red over total. So we can multiply both sides by t, get rid of that second variable. 12 equals 2r. And so if we divide by 2, we know that there are 6 reds inside there. So to get the probability of yellow, we have to add up all of them, which is 22. And then we put the number of yellow over total, reduce 2/11. A seller at an internet site reports that 99.7% of his sales have resulted in satisfied customers. Based on the report, what fraction of the sales have resulted in unsatisfied customers? I'm going to make that 99.7% into a fraction, but I want to get rid of that decimal in the numerator, so I'm going to times both the top and the bottom by 10. And now it's pretty plain to see that there are going to be 3 people out of 1,000 that are unsatisfied. Serena was studying the number of water stations for different lengths of races. The table below shows the data she collected. Which equation represents the relationship between the length of the race, x miles, and the number of water stations, y? We're going to see how much each column changes from 12 to 2, from 18 to 3. That's 10/15. Reduce that to 2/3. It's also finding slope. Centerville will hold a vote on whether to build a new park. The town council surveyed a random sample of 200 residents to determine whether they would be in favor of building this park. The table shows the results of the survey. The mayor estimates that half of the undecided voters will vote in favor of building the park. Based on the survey results, if the mayor is correct, how many of the 24,100 voters will be in favor of building the park? Looking at the sample size, there are 20 undecided, so that means 10 will go towards the yes. So that's 152 over the 200 total in the survey. I'm going to simplify that by 2, and it's 76 over 100, and that's 76%. If all of the voters in the city, all 24,100, vote the same way, it's 76%. That would mean that some multiplication. Two decimal places. 18,316 will vote yes. Which number shown above is the greatest? Looking at these, they're all negative, so we're looking for the smallest absolute value, and that's going to be the -1 over 49. What decimal is equivalent to 13 over -11? We're going to put the numerator under the division sign, and we're going to turn this into a decimal. We have 1, another 1. 8 times remainder, so we keep going. 1. Yeah, this is going to repeat. That's it. Repeating. Each loaf of bread a baker makes requires 1/5 ounce of salt. How many loaves can be made if 40 ounces of salt are used? So out of that 40, how many 1/5s can fit inside of there? So we use division. I'm going to turn that 40 into a fraction, flip the second fraction, multiplication. 200. That's it. What is the value of that? Okay, gotta be super careful with these fractions. So I'm gonna change forms so they're a little bit easier to work with. And fortunately, they both have denominators of 7, both sets. So that makes it a little easier. -1 over 7, that's -2 over 7. So I'm not gonna rewrite this now next to each other rather than the long division sign. I'm gonna use the division symbol, so that I can make a multiplication and flip the second fraction. And what we get is -7 over -14. I'm going to rewrite that. -7 times 1, -7 times 2, cancel. 1 over 2. Which number line represents the values of x that satisfy the inequality? There it is. I'm going to start by subtracting 1 from all 3 sides. So -6, now the x is kind of by itself, and that's 3. Now I'm going to divide all 3 sides by -3. And remember, when you divide or multiply by a negative, you flip the inequality sign. That's the line. If 1 cent equals 0.75 plunks, how many cents are equivalent to 8 plunks rounded to the nearest hundredth? Okay, a little algebra here. If 1s equals 0.75p, and I have 8p, I'm going to see how many of that 0.75 go into that 8, and so I'm going to be using division, being careful with decimal places. That's 1, 5, yeah, remainder of 50. Yeah, we're going to be repeating. Yep. So 10.67. Simplify. Okay, this is easy enough. Just make sure to distribute that negative to all the terms, collecting like terms next to each other, and doing the division, or doing the subtraction. 5.5x. There we go. Kim can repair 3 bicycles every 4 hours. At this rate, how long will it take her to repair 5 bicycles? Her rate is 3 bicycles every 4 hours. Distance equals rate times time. The distance is 5 bicycles. Her rate, and we don't know what the time is. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of that denominator on the right side. Now we're going to divide both sides by 3. So t is 6 2/3 hours. 2/3 of an hour is how many minutes? Times 60, 40 minutes, 6 hours, 40 minutes, 5 bikes. Jar Q contains 12 balls and jar R contains 8 balls. The probability of drawing a yellow ball at random from jar Q is 1/3. The probability of drawing a yellow ball at random from jar R is 3/4. All the balls are poured into an empty jar, jar S. What is the probability of drawing a yellow ball at random from jar S? We're going to figure out how many yellow balls are in each jar. So 1/3 of 12 is 4 yellow balls in the first jar. 3/4 of 8 will be 6 balls in the second jar, so together there's 10 balls over the total number of balls. 10 over 20, 1/2. Gia and her friends counted the number of pretzels and raisin in their bags of snack mix. The table above shows the number in Gia's bag. What other snack mix bag has a ratio of pretzels to raisins in the same proportional relationship as Gia's bag? Okay, so we are looking for a ratio of 12 to 9, which is reduced 4 to 3. So that first one is wrong, totally. B, 15 over 12 could reduce to 5 over 4. Nope. 18 over 15. 6 over 5. Nope. We're looking for 4 over 3. It's probably D. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Boom. That's D. If y equals 4x, what is the value of 3y plus 2 times the quantity of 3y plus 5 minus x in terms of x? First thing I'm going to do is substitute for the y with 4x. Making sure my parentheses are nice. Okay. I'm going to do some multiplication there. Not going to distribute quite yet. And now I'm going to distribute. Collecting like terms together. 35x plus 10. Two circular plates have the dimensions shown. What is the difference between the areas of the two plates in square inches? So they give us a diameter, so that means the radius is half of those diameters, and pi r squared is going to give us our areas. First circle is 81 pi, second circle is 36 pi. What's the difference? That means subtraction. And we have 45 pi. That's the difference. If x equals -4, what is the sum of x and 10% of the absolute value of x? First, I'm going to write it out algebraically. Now I'm going to substitute in our -4 for x, and you'll see that the absolute value is going to apply to that second -4 to make it positive. So it's really like -4 plus 0.4, and that's going to be getting closer to 0. So we do a little subtraction, keep it negative, -3.6. The volume of a cube is 512 cubic centimeters. What is the length in centimeters of one side of this cube? To find the cubed root of 512, I'm going to do a factor tree. I'm just going to double check with division so that my factor tree is correct. That's 256. Take a 2 out of it again. It's 128. Take another 2 out of it. It's a little easier, 64, and that is 8 and 8, and that's 8. So 8 times 8 times 8 equals 512. That means one side of the cube is 8. The high temperature on Monday was X degree Fahrenheit. On Tuesday, the high temperature was 84 degree Fahrenheit, which was a 5% increase from Monday's high temperature. On Wednesday, the high temperature was 10% lower than it was on Monday. How much lower was the high temperature on Wednesday than the high temperature on Monday? So to find a 5% increase from a number we don't know, we need some algebra. Divide both sides by 1.05. And this is going to be so much fun. Decimal place, 8. 80. So on Monday it was 80, Tuesday it was 84, Wednesday it was 72. What's the difference? 8 degrees. The integers n-1, n, and n+1 are factors of 168. What is the greatest possible value of n? Okay, so 3 consecutive integers are all factors of 168, so factor tree to see what the factors of 168 are. And it's 2, 2, 7, 2, and 3. Let's check the answer choices. 84, that checks out. 85 is not a factor. 14 checks out. The next consecutive digit, 15, cannot be created. 7 checks out. 8, that's an 8. 6, that's a 6. That checks out. So we know that 7 can be n. Raul gave 2 musical performances. His second performance occurred 86 days after his first performance. If Raul's second performance was on a Tuesday, on which day of the week was his first performance? So how many full weeks will that be? 7 goes into 86 days 12 times, remainder of 2, so that'd be a Sunday. Michael received a check for $213 for working 20 hours at his part-time job. The amount on the check was his total pay after $32 in taxes was deducted. What was Michael's hourly pay rate before taxes were deducted? We start by adding his taxes back on to see what his total pay was. So after 20 hours, he got paid $245. How many times does that go in? 12 and 2. There we go. So that'll be his hourly rate. What is the total surface area in square centimeters of the closed box shown above? That box has 3 different size faces. The first one is 800. The second one's 1,000. The third one is 2,000. So there's 2 of each of those. And add them all up. That's our answer. The value of a particular car decreases at a constant rate. If the car is worth $15,000 3 years after its original purchase date and $10,000 5 years after its original purchase date, what was the value of the car on its original purchase date? Okay, so those 2 prices is a $5,000 price, and that happened over 2 years. So that means each year $2,500 comes off the price, and that happened for 3 years. So total of $7,500 got taken off. And if that gets added back onto the price that we know, the original price is $22,500. A bag contains 2 green, 4 blue, and 3 yellow discs. Alana selects 4 discs from the bag at random, one at a time, without replacing them. What is the probability that she selects all 4 blue discs? Gotta find the total number of discs, which is 9. That's our first probability, and our second one, we remove 1 each time, and we get what we want, and we take 1 away from the total each time. Doing some canceling before I multiply, just to make it a little bit easier, and we get 1/6 times 1 over 21. Going to do this multiplication, and that is 1 over 126. That's a probability. Jevon earns 0.5% per year on the money in his savings account. Which expression is not another way to write 0.5%? Another way to say 0.5% is 0.5 over 100. So A is not that. B is 0.5 over 100. C is 5 over 1,000, which translates to 0.5 over 100. And D is 1 over 200, which is 0.5 over 100. So A is wrong. A is not that. Great. A community garden had 50 members in 2001. In each of the next 3 years, the number of members increased by 40% over the number of members from the previous year. How many members were there in 2004, rounded the nearest whole number? Okay, so this is an increase over years, and it's 40% each year. So that 50 and then a 40% increase is times 1.4. So 70, and then do it again. In 03, there were 98, another 40% increase. And we rounded to the nearest whole number, 137. Which inequality is equivalent to that? Okay, so I'm going to start by just rewriting it with the distribution. Then I'm going to collect my like terms. I'm going to subtract 6x and add plus 10 to each side. I'm going to divide each side by 5. Done. A box contains a total of 30 paper clips with colors in the ratio red to white to blue in 2 to 5 to 3. Suppose that 1 paper clip of each color is removed from the box and not replaced. What is the probability that the next paper clip chosen will be blue? We have red, white, and blue. Here's our ratio. And so how many of them are in the bag? There's going to be 6 red, 15 white, 9 blue. So if we take 1 away from each, what's our probability? That's 8 over 27. The least positive integer evenly divisible by the first 6 positive integers is 60. What is the least positive integer evenly divisible by the first 8 positive integers? So we need to make a lot of factor trees here. For the answer 420, because that's the smallest, we have 7, 2 and 3, 5 and 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no 8 though. So that doesn't have all the first 8 factors because it doesn't have an 8. Let's try 480, it's the next largest. So we have the 5, we have a 2. Okay, we can make a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no 7. So that doesn't work. So 840 is 420 with another 2 on it, and we have all the previously mentioned ones, and there's our 8. That's the smallest, 840. Three different colors of paint are available to paint the window frame, the door, and the wall of the house. If no 2 parts of the house may be painted the same color, how many different ways are there to paint the 3 parts of the house? Dealing with a permutation here. 3, 2, 1, multiply, 6. Triangle MNP is similar to triangle XYZ and MN equal NP. What is the perimeter of triangle MNP? So since they're similar, we have to find out what the proportion is, or the scale. And it looks like the scale is 5/3. So we're going to apply that to the side, and the corresponding side will be 15 on the bigger triangle. We're going to fill it out, add up all of the side lengths. Our perimeter is 40. Suppose that w, x, y, and z are integers, none of which are 0. Under which set of conditions would the product of that always be positive? Looking at the phrase itself, we have x squared and the absolute value of w. Both of those will always be positive. The z to the third won't be, and neither will the y. But if both the y and z to the third are negative numbers, it'll be a negative times a negative, which will make a positive, and it will always be positive. So that's why the answer for this one is going to be G. Chris has 1 red shirt, 2 white shirts, and 3 black shirts. Chris picks a shirt at random. Without putting the first shirt back, he picks a second shirt at random. What is the probability that the first shirt is black and the second shirt is red? We have 2 events of probability. In total, there are 6 shirts. First probability, 3 to 6, then 1 out of 5 because we take 1 away. 2 out of 30, reduce, 1 out of 10. Rita used 125 small solid cubes to build a large solid cube. The measure of each edge of the small cubes equals 1 inch. What is the measure of each edge of the large cube in inches? Okay, so let's factor tree 125 and 5, 5, and 5. And so just to double check that the volume is correct, 5 and 25. Yep, so it's a 5 by 5 by 5 larger cube. Each side length is 5 inches. 5 numbered balls are placed in 2 boxes as shown in the figure above. Davina picks 1 ball at random from box B and places it in box A. Then Yusuf picks 1 ball from box A without looking. What is the probability that Yusuf will pick a ball with an odd number? 2 probability event. There's the first, there's the second. Multiply them together, 2/9 that he gets an odd. Which graph represents the solution to that? Okay. Dealing with absolute values and inequality, you need to separate the inequality, flip the sign, and make it negative. I'm going to subtract 1 from each side the first, do it in the second, and that's my compound inequality. A rectangular kitchen floor is 12 feet long and 7.5 feet wide. It will be covered completely with new square tiles measuring 0.75 foot on each side. How many tiles will cover the floor? Working in feet, we're going to see how many tiles fit into the length. And so that's 10 tiles in one direction, and in the other, there will be 16. So we'll have 16 by 10 tile, and that will be total number of tiles, 160. Typically, an amusement park sells 3 times as many tickets on Sunday as any weekday and 4 times as many tickets on Saturday as on Sunday. If the number of tickets sold on Saturday and Sunday totaled 30,000, how many tickets are expected to be sold on the following Monday? Okay, so 4 times as many Saturday as Sunday, so if you add those up, we'll get our 30,000. So let's find out how big that is on Sunday. And that will be X, so we divide it by 5. And it's going to be 6,000. So 6,000 people visited on Sunday. A third of that will be 2,000. A rectangular field had a length of 80 meters and a width of 50 meters. The field was recently enlarged with the length increased by 15% and the width increased by 10 meters. By what percent was the area of the field increase? Okay, so here is our original dimensions. I'm going to add the 15% by multiplying 80 by 1.15, and the new dimension is 92. Then I'm going to add 10 to the 50, that's easy. So now I need to find the difference between the two areas. The first area is 5,520 compared to 4,000. The difference of the areas is 1,520. That's the difference. And putting that over the original amount, what is the percentage that it has increased? Do some division here. It's going to start with a 3 and 38. That checks out, 38%. If x and y are both negative integers, with x being less than y, which expression has the least value? So if we assign two numbers that work for that inequality, let's say x is -3 and y is -2, does e give us a low value? It's pretty low. F. And just be mindful with the negatives and the exponents. That's not as low. G. Nope. Nope, it's E. That's it.
Complete!